Hi, I'm Stephanie Mitchell, CEO and founder of Stephanie Mitchell Media. I do graphic design. And here with me today, I have my sister, Mary Schell. So Mary has agreed to talk to us today and share her time. And just she does lots of super interesting things. I've known Mary for her whole life.
Yeah.
She's going to turn 22 in just a little bit. So that's really exciting. So she can tell us how that feels.
Mhm.
And just, yeah. So introducing my sister, Mary Schell. Mary, do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Oh, okay. As Jeannie said, I'm Mary. I will be 22 this April, so just here in a couple days. I currently kind of do a lot of stuff. I love to stay busy. I find a lot of stuff to fill my time because I can't really sit still very easily because I kind of go crazy. But I'm a lot like you in that way. You need to be doing something. Um,
hmm
and yeah, yeah, I like to keep busy.
Yeah. So you say that you keep busy, which I know you do. I know that you're busier than probably a lot of people that I know. So, what is it that keeps you busy? What kind of stuff do you do?
A lot of it is my work. I'm currently I started out with this company, construction company, doing bookkeeping, and then I moved to start doing more of the actual construction side. Um, and that has been really fun. I've loved learning just, how to make stuff and build stuff. And um, that has led me to the place I am right now, where I learned that I actually love woodworking and finished carpentry. And I'm going to be, hopefully, here in the near future, I don't know how soon, starting a business making and selling cutting boards out of live edge that I mill myself. And I got a little setup going, and that's been really fun. But it does take a lot of time.
Yeah. So I'm hearing a lot of hands-on types of physical projects that like you work in construction, but you also do the bookkeeping administrative side. How many years of experience do you have with that administrative paperwork side of business?
Going on 3 years now. Yeah. Mhm.
Do you
Yeah,
like it?
I do. Yeah, exercise is a part of your brain. I didn't really realize I liked having exercise, I guess. Because you gotta sit and you gotta think and use your brain. And I just feel like so many people today aren't conditioned to use their brain, and they are, other people think and make decisions for them based on, whatever goes on in their life. But I like crunching numbers sometimes, and other times I'm like, we got to do this again. But it's a good job. Yeah.
Yeah, so you like that administrative, you figured out you like that part of your brain that engages
Mm-hmm.
for administrative tasks, and also you like doing physical labor with construction and woodworking to the point where
Mm-hmm.
you want to start your own
Yeah.
business selling handmade cutting boards.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was in, I want to say around the first of the year, I got a chainsaw, and then I got a small chainsaw mill. If you guys get a chance, look it up. It's really cool. Just a chainsaw mill. It attaches to your chainsaw, and you can cut off slabs from logs you have. And it's a little bit more time consuming rather than, a big elaborate $3,000, like $3,000 piece of machinery. But it works, and it's good. And I got a planer, just, and it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, because yeah, I don't have a chainsaw, but for those of you that have chainsaws, Mary's got tips for you, it sounds like.
I got you.
So did you teach yourself everything? Did you learn it on your job with construction?
So a lot of this originally stemmed from me wanting to make live edge river tables, which is with resin in them and dye. So I started buying a couple of slabs from, local lumber yards and cutting them down and made a mold for the live edge to put in, and then the resin. And the first one turned out real great. And second one, I didn't turn out great because it's a trial and error process, right?
Right.
And the third one was not great at all. So we've had one success out of 3 so far. But it stemmed from that. And then I started to realize how expensive lumber is, and just to buy beautiful slabs to make tables, like you can pay up to $4 to $5 grand for a decent slab. And then my boss that owns a construction company, he's got this business brain, and he's just constantly thinking of, business adventures, and he's great with that. And we started talking about it, and because he knew I wanted to do that. And then he was like, well, what if we started milling? I was like, wait, really? And that would have been really cool, to start a business like that. So we started looking into it, and then it was just something that I wanted to do. So I went for it, got some stuff, start out small. And he's helped me a lot through all of that. And he's great at finished carpentry too. He's like made some really, really beautiful things. So he's kind of been my, what do you say? My helper, mentor kind of. Yeah, that's a good
trainer.
Yeah. So, and then he's helped guide me through a lot. And I'm really excited for this to turn into something more. Yeah,
that's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you'll definitely have to let us know. So you haven't launched your new business yet?
No, I do have a few people who are interested in products. I just honestly haven't had the time to dedicate consistently to it yet. So once it starts, I feel like it should take off fairly easily.
Yeah, well, definitely let us know. We can set up another interview when it's time and get all your stuff pushed out. I love sharing about businesses on my page.
Because
owning your own business is a lot of work. So I like to help because I love it when people help me. It means so much. So but that's so exciting. That's the kind of, I've been thinking about something ever since you mentioned it. You said something about attention span, or people using their brains or not using their brains. So I just attended a workshop about Generation Z, which I know is your generation, and then I'm a millennial, but just learning about the attention span of each generation, what is important to them, how they're using their brains, and how different that is. Do you work with other Gen Zers, or is it a mix, and how does that look?
What is the age range for Gen Z? I can't remember. I should know this.
So so I know, I forget the exact, I can really quick Google it, but I know that you're in it. I think it's between, also the new generation, I'll just Google real fast.
Okay.
The new generation, so the 10-year-olds are their generation alpha, by the way. The kids born in 2012, that's the next one coming down. So
great.
Everybody get ready. Okay. What is Generation Z? Okay. That is yep, so that's when you're born between 1997 and 2012. So that's literally you and Christiana and Ellie are, that's all of us sisters, and then I'm the only millennial in family. So
Right.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
interesting. Because I never realized how different those generations were. And I
Mhm.
was just at the workshop and I was like, oh, maybe that's why, you know, my sisters do this or don't do this. And it's like so different from what I just take
Yeah.
for granted or always do. Like it's so,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, using our brains, it's so interesting. There's just so much that we still don't know
Yeah.
about the brain and just
Yeah.
like what happens if you exercise it or you don't exercise it.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
I'm not always good. I was good for a while and then I just kind of got lazy about doing brain exercises like brain games. But what is your favorite way to keep your brain active? Like it sounds like that's something that you value and prioritize.
I really like reading. I'm currently reading 2 books, Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Um, Ayn Rand, actually, not Rand. Said that wrong. And then another book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it's just about, I haven't gotten too far into it, so I can't exactly say what it's about, but it's more of a business type book and finance. And just reading different books like that, I really like. I also like reading fiction. So um,
Hmm.
just honestly, just reading, and I'm an overthinker, so that helps with it.
To
So
give you something to think about.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I'm always thinking about something. And if someone asks, you might regret asking because I will not stop talking. So
Yeah, me too. Sometimes I just have to check myself, like Stephanie, say one thing because they're not here for like a
Mhm.
monologue, you know?
Yeah. You're not in therapy, okay? Just say
Yeah,
one
I
thing.
try not to trauma dump on anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well,
Mhm.
cool. Yeah. So, well, you're welcome to talk as much as you want here. That's what this whole thing is for,
Mhm.
just a conversation. But yeah, so as somebody, so you're about to turn 22. So, what is it like being a woman in the business world that's also Gen Z? Because I think I'm like more I just learning about all of this stuff. I'm like, that is probably a significantly different experience than a female millennial in the business
Yeah.
world. So tell me about that.
Honestly, it makes me more aware of other people around me and my age. I have several really good friends who are, going to school and they're about to finish and graduate with their degree, which is awesome. And I'm so proud of them. But then, there's others like I didn't go to college. Like I just
Mhm.
don't love school, you know, but I
Yeah.
love learning new things as long as it's not in the school category, which kind of contradicts itself, but it's okay. I've seen a lot of other people who kind of seem stuck. Um, they just get stuck in a rut. So, and I'm like speaking of people around my age, they get stuck in a rut. So they kind of become stagnant and they just turn to something easy, and then maybe that's going and finding a job at a burger ranch and flipping burgers, just to do something to spend their time instead of going after a dream that they had, that they hit a bump in the road and then they were just kind of like, oh well, I guess that's that, and move on, instead of chasing after what you want. That's one thing I've noticed.
That's interesting because I know for my generation of millennials, we're the dreamers, but we're also
Mhm.
risk prone. So we have taken a lot of chances. Like you've seen me do this. I will try something until I get it right. And I'll
Yeah,
try all
yeah.
this stuff and I'll, move
Mhm.
across the country or I'll just like date however many people I needed to until I found the
Yeah,
right guy.
yeah,
I
yeah.
so, I've made a lot of mistakes, But I've
Mhm.
also, if I didn't try all that stuff, I don't think that I would be in the place I am today. I know I wouldn't be.
Right. Right.
So, but then, so I know, so what I was learning was that your generation has never known a peaceful time
Mhm.
because, um, let's see, 9/11 happened like the year after you were born.
Yeah.
So that's kind of right on that cusp. Like there's
Mhm.
always been something stressful going on. And so it seems like Gen Z is a little bit more cautious, which understandable because who are you going to trust? Like you haven't been given any reasons to trust people
Mhm.
outside of your very small close circle.
Yeah.
Um, and that definitely influences the opportunities that people have because I heard that Gen Zers call their parents way more on average. They're calling their moms multiple times a day. And that's definitely not really something that I've ever had the habit of doing.
Yeah.
Um, so that's super interesting. I don't know. I'm just really fascinated by this because I think it's an important conversation to have about, like you mentioned, I don't like school, but I love learning. I'm the
Yeah.
exact same way. Like, you know, that I've taken an unconventional path in a lot of ways.
Right.
I did go to community college
Mhm.
and then I went for a semester at a university to major in psychology, decided I didn't like it. I'm the same way. I don't like conventional education methods. I
Right.
don't. They don't work well for me, for my brain. Like I did it, I'm done. So,
Right.
but
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
always what?
I said, yeah, I was saying exactly.
Yeah, but I still value like lifelong education is still something that's very important to me. So
Mhm.
it's like I love learning new things. If I wasn't doing that, I would get super bored. I'm always trying to improve stuff.
Hmm.
So it's like that's to lock ourselves into a path. Well, everybody goes to college, so I have to. Well,
Right.
no, but you don't though.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. It
Yeah.
is for some people, but it's not for me. And it
Mhm.
sounds like it's not for you. And
Right.
so I've encountered a lot of judgment from other people
Mhm.
about the different paths that I've taken.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like, you can have those opinions, but also like,
It's my life.
I'm gonna do my thing.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. So tell me a little bit more about, like, if you want to share about, you don't like school, but you love learning because I
Mhm.
know that those things seem to contradict each other, maybe on the surface, but to me they don't.
Yeah, yeah, when you say it out loud, it's like that sounds contradictory, but it doesn't, to me, like to you, it doesn't mean the same thing. Um, to be learning curriculum is different than learning life experiences and business experiences. And if you have one job and you're there for a couple of years, you learn a lot. And then it's time for you to move on and you take that experience. And it was like it's almost like you spent 2 years in not, I don't want to say in a school, but so I worked at a, for a company and I was doing bookkeeping and slash accounting for about 2 years. And once my time there, I was done and I found a new job. Like you take that 2 years of experience that you got with you, and it's like you were just majoring in bookkeeping and accounting for the past 2 years. So you have life experiences that you can use and you can take from that, and then you move on to the next thing. And some people can't stay at a job for too long because they get bored, which that's fine. They learn new things at that job, and then when it's time for them to move on, they take that with them. So
Yeah, and when you're at a job, how much do you value getting feedback on how you're doing, whether that's positive or negative?
I am a person who needs to hear, how I'm doing. It might not be like, it's not like I need to hear praise, but I like to know how I'm doing. And if someone
Right.
comes up to me and be like, hey, this happened or whatever, can you fix this? I'm like, yeah, I'll fix that. I like hearing feedback. I feel like I thrive in verbal feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't call it verbal affirmations, but if, yeah, I like to know how I'm doing in my job performance, and if I did something wrong, I know I need to fix it. Like, that's on me. And if I did a great job and someone's like, hey, proud of you for doing this, I'm like, thanks. I needed to hear that.
It just really lifts you up and
It
like,
does.
okay,
Yeah.
now I can keep going.
Yes. You could keep going before, but that helped,
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, so feedback is really important to you. So and then you're gonna be launching your own business. When do you see that happening?
Ideally, I'd like to see it happen by the end of summer. I have to get a couple things in order, and honestly, I have to get my butt in gear.
Yeah.
I gotta do it. There's so many things in my life that distract you from what you need to do, but you need to make time for what's important to you and what you want to do. So important. And it's been great. I've had such a great response to it, and people are really excited about it. And I know when you heard that, you were automatically like, that's awesome. What can I do to help? And then you have like 2 different people who are interested. I'm like, oh, I should have told her about this a long time ago.
Yes, tell me all the things.
Yeah. And so I'd like to get an Etsy page started so I can ship around the US. And sell it locally. There's a couple shops, in the different small towns around me, like boutiques that older people shop at. I can sell these at wineries because not only are they cutting boards, but they're also charcuterie boards, and wineries are known for their cheese boards. And there's a lot of wineries around us. So I really think that this could work, and I'm really hoping that I can make this happen,
Yes, charcuterie. Charcuterie is so hot right now. It's been hot for like
I
what,
did
2
not
years or
realize.
more.
I know. And so I made this board. I got this really, really beautiful black walnut, and I made a board. And then for Christmas, Christiana, she made this beautiful charcuterie like arrangement. And I was like, I don't know that I want to eat it because it looks so pretty. And I know that it's very popular, and it's a real cool art.
Oh, art. So it's because I guess part of the huge appeal of it is that it is a form of art. It's edible art,
Yeah,
basically.
pretty
Oh,
much.
so would you say that the charcuterie board itself is the canvas, or?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, it's like
I like it.
it's like the blank canvas or platter for you to build your food dream on, I guess is an interesting way of putting it.
Yeah. So when I've noticed, I don't know if you do this, but when I have a plate of food that looks really cool, I take a picture of it and I say, camera eats first.
That's funny. I like that.
I know other people probably are like, wow, that girl always takes pictures of
She's
her
a
food.
millennial.
Yeah. So do you take pictures of your food, or are you more
Yeah.
just experiencing it?
If it's really pretty, I take a picture, but more often than not, I love food, so I just eat it. And then I'm like, oh, that was pretty. I should have taken a picture. So, I'm kind of, 50-50 on what I end up doing, but it's more often than not just eating it and then realizing I should have taken a picture. But then I'm like, oh, I can order it again and it'll still look amazing.
Yeah. So you're like, I'll just do it later if I'll get a chance. I'm not, it's not.
Yeah, come back another day.
That sense of urgency is not there like it is for me. In my brain, I'm like, oh no, this is my one chance to get this snapshot, which okay. But
yeah, like my eyes snapshot it, and then I devour it. So It works out for me.
My eyes are a camera, so it's beautiful. So
Everyone's eyes are your camera, you make memories and you capture them with your eyes, living the memories, and you keep it. Your SD card's your brain. Anyways, that was weird. Okay, continue.
Yeah. Memory. Mm-hmm. So you live in Washington State. So the Pacific Northwest is a great place to be for charcuterie stuff.
Yeah.
Here where I live in Alabama, it's also seems to be pretty popular. I am meeting some people that are definitely in that business, or they have a business doing charcuterie things. So that's cool. Because I know that you're in wine country, so that opportunity to market to the wineries is huge.
Yeah.
Because
there are at least I want to say 10 to 20 wineries in Prosser, which is wine country. Literally, it is called wine country, and there's so many, and in the surrounding areas too that I probably don't know about. What's kind of ironic is I don't love wine. I prefer a cider or a beer over wine, unless it's like a white Chardonnay. And I know that's picky, but there's so many people who come from hours and hours away for these wine events. I'm like, you must really love your wine.
Yeah, people really do. There's such a culture built around drinking alcohol and having really high quality alcohol, and just the whole experience of going with your friends, going wine tasting. I can remember a lot of times when we were growing up, and once I was old enough, mom and dad would go with their friends and go drink wine, and or when relatives would come to visit, it's like, oh, the Shells are in wine country, let's go. So
and it's such a what is the word I'm looking for? It's such an experience too, because you learn so much about the wines, and there's a lot of interesting detail that goes into it, and it affects the taste by the type of aged wood barrel that it's in. So many factors that I'm just like, what? Okay, you do your thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, because and you mentioned the whole experience, and when people educate you, when you go to the winery and they say all these things, and I know Oregon is pretty big on that too, because I've been to, I think, one winery there, but it was that same kind of thing. They're very knowledgeable, and so that's really cool. And I remember at the local community college, they were offering classes on how to make wine and winemaking. It was so much more prevalent. I can say I've lived here since July 2018 here in the South, and I will say I have been to one winery the whole time that I've lived here, and I just went recently, and it was because I was going to a different a clothing swap, and I found myself at a winery I didn't even know existed, and it was super cool. It was called the Wine Cellar. It's in Huntsville, Alabama, but I was just it's very much a different kind of feel. So you're in a great geographical location for that. I'm sure that there's other opportunities besides wineries, and probably there's a lot of wineries I'm sure that I haven't heard of. I'm not a huge wine person. I do like fruity alcohol drinks, typically like cocktails or margaritas, or if it's a sweet wine, the stereotypical feminine drinks,
right?
The girly drinks. Those are the things that, yes, I like those, but but everybody's a little bit different, and so, but I like that whole there's something about going to a winery and just it sort of it pulls you into the present moment because you're tasting something and you are maybe eating a carefully selected thing to go along with it, and it's very much brings you into a healthy mental space usually of just this is here, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. That's just me rambling about stuff, but
That's why we're doing this. Yeah.
so that I can ramble. No.
Rambles? No,
Yeah,
more like
but
Rambles by Mary. But anyways, you were saying, sorry.
Rambles by Mary, yeah.
New
So I know, so growing up, you and I probably clashed the most often as siblings
Mhm.
because we have the strongest personalities in the family.
Yes.
Um, I'm I can be, I am very convicted about what I'm doing. I'm confident about it. I'm like, this is what's happening. And then Mary is that way too. And so, um, it's very interesting growing up with 3 sisters like we have, because the advantage of that, there's many, but one of the advantages is that I grew up with so many different personality types, so that
Mhm.
when I encounter them in my professional life, for example, I'm like, "Oh, they're just like Christiana," or
Mhm.
they're the personality type of Mary or,
Yeah.
Ellie.
Mhm.
Um so that's really valuable. So in the workplace, when you have two really strong personalities like yours and like mine working together,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've probably encountered that. And if you have, how does that work? And does it kind of harken back to your days when you were having fights with me and stuff?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, yeah, we did fight because we're so much alike that we just butted heads so much over almost everything. Um,
Yeah.
but the difference being working with a strong-willed person in the workplace versus your sister is, number one, you can't just say what you want and get away with it, right? Never happens,
Right.
never works.
Nope.
Not that I speak from experience, but you just I feel like it's definitely something, like you said, growing up with sisters with different personalities, you know what you can say, and you also know what you shouldn't say. And when you're in the workplace and it's someone that you're clashing with on an idea or whatever, a couple things I think about is, this person has more experience than I do in this regard or whatever we're doing. And they know more about it. I don't. So if they want to do it a certain way, I should do it their way. Versus if it's something that I've been doing longer and they're like, oh, well, no, I think you should do it this way. Like, no, listen, this way works because I know, because I've done it a million times. You just kind of have to talk things out a little bit and be like, you know, um, I respect what you're saying, but you're wrong. No, not quite like that. You have
If we
to.
could only say that.
You have to say it nicely. Like, know your boundaries, and honestly, is it worth it? Like, is it worth fighting about? Is it worth like getting in a discussion about with this person? Like, it could be a small issue. Like, really, are you gonna let it happen and ruin your day, and you're both in a bad mood and you're both mad at each other? Like, it's not worth it, a lot of times. So it's a good lesson in humility and keeping your mouth closed when you need to, honestly, which is very hard for me, but you got to do it.
It's hard for me too, and I appreciate you sharing about that, because it does play very much into our business lives, and we do encounter different personalities.
Yeah.
Um, and since I grew up with you, we did clash a lot, but I also encounter Christiana's personality all the
Mhm.
time. And as soon as I see it, I recognize it, and I'm like, oh, okay, ABC is what I can expect.
Yes.
Um, Good to know.
Yeah.
So, and it's not something that I necessarily tell the person. Sometimes I do, but only if it's appropriate for the situation. But a
Yes.
lot of times it's just kind of storing away, okay, um, I know what to expect now.
It's like when you meet those different personalities, a part of your brain, it switches over to that personality, like your sister, you're like, oh, it's like I'm dealing with her. So it's like for me, when I encounter
Hmm.
people like that, it's like my brain switches over and it's like, okay, treat it like this person, the situation. And yeah, so I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, because it really I know so many people said, "Oh, it's for girls growing up. It's like Little Women," and it's like, okay. I
You're
mean,
not wrong,
maybe
but
sometimes I think when people say Little Women, they mean the book cover where they're all sitting there, all quiet. But listen, if you've read Little Women, um,
yeah,
you'll know that they all had very different personalities too, and you can see all of that, and that's very interesting.
yeah,
I bring this up because, like I said, it does come up in our business lives, and it's really it's it's a big thing how
hmm,
we interact with other people, how well we get along with other people.
yeah,
Because when I do encounter somebody who has just as strong of a personality as mine, or even stronger, because there are other personalities that are maybe a little bit more, they want to be controlling naturally or something like that. And I'm like, whoa, I feel very unsafe now. That's like my issue to deal with. But
right,
yeah, it's just like if I am just constantly improving myself and how I do things, I can only control myself.
right,
Somebody else can do whatever they're going to do. I would love to be able to control what they're doing, but I can't. So to constantly remind myself, and like they can't control me either. I
hmm,
don't know. I don't know if you saw this. I made a post recently about crabs in a bucket and
yeah,
how, yeah, so those of you that didn't see that, the crabs in the bucket analogy, there's crabs in the bucket so they can leave the bucket of crabs unattended because they know that none of them are going to escape. And the reason that they know this is because if a crab does try to escape, the crabs already in the bucket, they will pull it back in.
hmm,
Um, and so it's good to be aware that there are those people that feel so unsafe about who they are
hmm,
and frankly insecure that they need to pull you down to their level for them to feel like everything's okay. And just to know, like, to kind of like watch your back and be like, no, but you're a crab in the bucket and I'm a crab outside the bucket. And I'm just gonna
yeah,
keep doing my thing over here. So that's really I just very recently learned about that analogy, but it fits so perfectly and it really helps me to realize like I never want to be in that place where I feel so insecure about my own abilities that I have to try to limit other people what they're doing because
yeah,
that's not going to benefit me or them. And plus it's a delusion. Like you can't control other people. That's literally delusional to believe that you can do that.
yeah,
So that's kind of like a whole side tangent, but not really to me because it really ties into like just business and
hmm,
professional life, but also personal life. And just to know that there's just all kinds of people and the reasons that people are acting the way that they are, yeah, there's a lot of reasons for it. But my thing is, my bottom line is there's no excuse for bad behavior. Like there might be some explanations, but there
yeah,
are no excuses.
hmm,
Like I can't say, well, you know, something bad happened to me when I was younger. So that gives me the license to act like a jerk to everyone. And it's like, no, it doesn't. It's an
no,
explanation for why I might struggle with some things, but it's not an excuse for me to treat other people poorly or like they owe me something because nobody does. So
right,
that's, yeah, I'll give you a turn. But those are just some things that I think are really important.
hmm, yeah. Yeah, having a strong personality or strong-willed personality doesn't give you any right to push people over to get what you want. That's and mom was always right. When we were growing up, she's like, living with your sisters, these are the kinds of personalities you'll encounter. This is how you're learning to cope with that. While you're still, young. And I'm like, well, she's just being mean or whatever, but I was like, oh, well, she's right.
Yeah.
100%. And yeah, growing up with siblings has really helped know what I can do. Like how far's too far, don't go too far that you've reached that point. And just when you need to dial it back and when you can, be a little more assertive and take control of a situation if no one else is stepping up and just stuff like that.
Because you are very much a take action kind of person.
And it's so hard for me to sit down and watch someone do something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could be doing this and it could have been done. But, again, it's a lesson that God is always teaching me to be patient. And sometimes you need to let go of the things that you can't control or that you weren't asked to control.
Yeah. Because just recognizing what's my place and what is it that, that I'm going to let go. And
yeah,
also just helps so much with peace of mind. Have you noticed this, that you can tell when people are at peace and when they are just living in chaos at all times?
Yeah. And those people that are living in peace, they just like exude peace, and you're like, oh, I want to be like them because they're so pleasant to be around, and I love that. And there's a couple people I know that are like that, and you just want to hang out with them all the time because they're just so peaceful and calm, and it's like they have everything under control, and I'm like, I want to be that.
It's hard though, because we're more comfortable with what we're familiar with. And I've been really familiar with when things were stressful or a lot happening or super quote unquote busy. And I say quote unquote busy because we are as busy as we allow ourselves to be. And so intentionally practicing self-care, for example, just taking care of yourself. And I don't mean all the bougie stuff necessarily, like going to the spa and getting your nails done. I mean the boring kind of self-care. Mia Hemstad has talked about this. Boring self-care is where I'm getting that from. But just taking care of your basic needs, it's not an option. It's totally necessary. Like it just, without it, we're not gonna be okay. And so just intentionally practicing those things goes such a long way. It sounds way too easy, and I think that's why a lot of people don't really like for me for a long time, just more recently I've been super prioritizing eating and drinking water and doing all this stuff, but that's super recent. I'll be 31 this month. We both have birthdays this month, and then our mom has a birthday, so it's like the birthday month.
Yes.
So, but it's like, why it's hard not to beat myself up and say, wow, I'm 30. Like, why am I just now learning how to take care of myself? What?
No, everyone learns it at a different time. Some people are 60 before they realize some stuff they need to change in their life or do stuff for them. I'm the same way. I have, like, recently, I'm like, I need to prioritize exercising because I know I feel better when I do it. But sometimes you're like, I just want to stay in bed for that 30 minutes that I would have been exercising, and it's just something you gotta make yourself do.
Yeah, it's not a choice for me because I have a lot of thoughts. I'm trying to decide which one to say. So for exercise, what?
I said, go for it all.
Okay. I know you don't seem to mind to other people their side tangents, but to me they all tie into what we're saying.
Yeah.
But um so like with exercise, um the reason it's not a choice for me is because I just heard some research recently, haven't fact checked this, but I heard it and it's interesting thought. Um, so just hormone levels in women, for example,
Mhm.
um, when women are doing business kind of things or managing the house, like doing tasks that are business related or doing something like buying a house or I don't know, handling the paperwork for something, negotiating. Um,
Mhm.
Now this is what I heard. Again, I haven't fact checked it, but it sounds plausible that when we do things like that, our testosterone levels rise. And
Mhm.
so I was kind of wondering, I'm like, how come when I started doing a bunch of more stuff with my graphic design business, how come I come home and I feel just angry for no reason? That could be part of the reason is we have to do things as women to balance out the business stuff or just whatever kind of stuff we were doing all day, do something creative like
Yeah.
relax or cook a meal or do a craft hobby or something to bring those estrogen levels back up. So I just thought that was really interesting. And then like for men, um, to get their levels back to what they're supposed to be, they can lean more into like physical labor or doing something like that. But for me, I have found that when I'm doing business things, it's so important for me every single day to do exercise because I have to like
Mhm.
let out. I have just all this pent up. I don't even know. That could be the reason that it's like I've been doing business stuff. And so now I have all this
Yeah.
like, I don't know, aggression or just not aggression, but just like very strong emotions about everything that I just need to let out. Maybe it is aggression, but I don't mean like being mean to people. It's just those things that like I come home and I have to work it out or do it in the morning before I
Mhm.
do the things so that I'm like just a
Yeah.
calm.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's like ah.
I know what you mean. Yeah, because like a couple of years ago, I discovered that like running de-stresses me so well because you can literally just like run all of your emotions and all of your aggression or anything and just run. And then, you're angry, you run harder and you run faster and you get farther. And then you see that progress you've made running. You're like, dang, that's awesome. Look how far I've come. And then that just helps tone things down. And it's also just so good for your body to get outside and run if you like running. I know a lot of people hate it.
Yeah, for me it's more of like a safety issue of I don't want to go running by myself as a woman, but if you can find somebody to go running with you or whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
But I signed up for a 5K. So I hope it goes okay for me. I knew that if I signed up for it, I was like, I'll get ready for it, but I feel very unprepared and it's coming up on
Yeah.
the 23rd. So I'm not going to be competing against anyone. And even if I was really good, there's lots of people there. There's always going to be other people at these like events, but it's like I'm only going to be competing against myself. And
Yeah.
I think it's like, hey, I've never done a 5K before, so whatever I do,
Yeah.
that's going to be that's my new metric. The next time I do one, I'll try to do better than the last time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it looks like you know about that and how it applies to everything. Like competing against yourself only is really the recipe to just thriving just with whatever you do, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah, and I'm such a competitive person. Like it's not even funny, but you are too, obviously. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
the Monopoly games we've had. But anyways,
Oh
um,
yeah. It's like, no, I will win the money pot. Okay, yeah, because the way we played it. But
Yeah.
That is so satisfying to be like, yes, I landed on free parking. I have stacks of money.
You're
I
like,
win.
I'm rich. I got all the money. Anyways, yeah, being such a competitive person, it really can be used for good, in competing against yourself and becoming a better person in a lot of ways in your life, whatever you need to work on or whatever. And it's recognizing that and acknowledging it, and taking action on it. And a lot of people don't do that, but it's what I work on a lot.
Yeah, because you're just gonna do so much better if you're only competing against yourself. Because honestly, sometimes I see examples of, and I've done this too, where I'll see somebody else doing something really cool and I'll start to feel insecure
Yeah.
or unsure about my abilities. I've tried to turn it around into, that person knows a lot of cool things. Wow, I can learn a lot from them. Like, truly, I can learn a lot from them. And then I can learn some cool new stuff, and then I can improve the stuff that I already do. They're not a threat to me. Nobody else is a threat to me in what I do. Other graphic designers are not a threat to me. I can learn from them. So, yeah, just feeling threatened by other people that do the same things that we do, it's honestly a recipe for failure. I'm just going to say it. You're not going to do well if you feel threatened by everyone. Like, you're just going to be scared and paralyzed by fear, and then you're not going to do anything.
And
right?
then, yeah, that's where they're going to get stuck in a rut, and they're just going to stop and then go back to what is comfortable to them. And like I was saying earlier, not go after their dreams because of few little things,
That reminds me of our cousin Jason Weber just posted about something recently. He's so he's really working on himself a lot. He's doing like an awesome job. He's been very public about just talking about his challenges. But I saw, just what he's doing to be a healthy person is very admirable. And he said something the other day or last week about if you don't try new things. So when you try new things, that will become your new comfort zone. So we can have new comfort zones, but they're only developed by trying the new things. And then, okay, then those are the new comfortable things. And then we try other stuff. And so it's always like just this progression of comfort zones don't have to just be, just only one thing all the time, like you were saying.
Or just what it can be so, yeah,
like for me, if I'm feeling anxious or something like that, I really like to rewatch old TV shows that I've already watched, like The Office and Friends, or all this stuff. It's like very comforting to watch those same patterns. And then if I watch a new TV show, eventually that's going to become my safe comfort show. But if we don't try those new shows, like we had to watch The Office for the first time for it to become that.
The third and the fourth.
And the third and the fourth. Mary knows more Office trivia than anyone else I know. I got a new board game for it, a DVD board game. We need to play it. So
we do. I would really like that.
I was so excited to find it. So but yeah, anything else you wanted to share with us or just talk about, or what's like, so you, I'll just let you.
Well, this is where I say you need to ask me a question because I don't know.
Okay, so like you're in construction and you're going to be starting a new business, and you also do like office work. So what is something, like, I'll pick construction. What is something in construction that a lot of people really don't like, but that you do? What is it about doing physical stuff with your hands, making wooden products, things like that? What is it that a lot of people would hate, but that you really like?
I'd say the finish detail. A job we were working on recently, we were like, building, and we had taken an old bank and they were turning it into a winery. So, they needed to put in a new bathroom. And so we were doing framing for that. And, the plumbers and electricians come up and do their thing. And a lot of people like to see the progression of the job and see it turn into something. But then towards the end of the job, a lot of people are just kind of tired of it, and it's like, it's almost over, but there's still those fine detailed tasks that still have to be done. Say baseboards, that's a critical part in a building to make it look finished and nice and clean, but it's one of the last details. And just matching new trim to the old trim that was already in the building, and just that kind of stuff, and making it look all pretty and all nice once you're done. I really like that because I am a perfectionist and a very detailed person, and I really like that a lot.
I love how you acknowledge the things that you're good at, your attention to detail. So thanks for sharing that. I love that. I know that perfectionism can be perceived as a really negative thing, and it can be if it's carried to an extreme.
Yeah.
But attention to detail is a skill that not everybody has. And like for me, there's some jobs since I own my own business, there's some projects that I won't do if the person is wanting me to do it so quickly that it's going to not turn out well, because I don't want to be associated with a blurry graphic or something that's low resolution, something that doesn't look good. I'm like, I really don't want my name on that. I really don't want my company associated with that. Like, I'm really sorry that I can't achieve that for you in such a short time. But sometimes it's just a matter of having very high standards is different than being a perfectionist. And so that's really cool that you're so good at that detail stuff and just making it look amazing, because oh my gosh, when I'm sure that you probably, I don't know if you're like this. So like when you see other stuff that's done poorly, like we're just gonna say it, does it bother you?
So badly. Oh my gosh, what were they thinking when they did that? Or that totally doesn't match up if it's like an addition in like a restaurant or something, and I see detail, like, stop staring at it.
Yeah. And my version of that, I deal so much in the digital world, especially, but I noticed it other places. But my version of that is when I'm scrolling and I see a social media graphic that doesn't have the company name on it, or maybe they stole it from somewhere and it's very obvious, or it's blurry. Okay, it's 2022, guys. We need to have stuff that looks really good, and I can help you look good.
Yeah, and the OCD comes out and you're like, yeah.
It's those things. It's like, I don't have OCD, but it's just like I do hyper focus on stuff that's like, I'm gonna make this look good, and this is gonna be, if you pay me to make this graphic for you, it is going to look so good, and I'm going to work on it until both of us are satisfied. Like, I'm not gonna hand you something that's looking sloppy as heck, because that's not how I roll.
No. I have
So
not seen
yeah,
a single like design you've made that is bad. I'm like, wow, well done. They all look so good.
thank you. I'm always learning and improving, and
Mhm.
I've been doing this for a little over 5 years, but that's, it sounds like a long time, but it's like I have the rest of my life to improve stuff. Like, how
Yeah.
exciting though, right? It's an opportunity. Like you
Yes.
said, lifelong education,
Yeah.
and like for what you do too, like because you probably read books about woodworking and stuff. Like readers are leaders, right? So you're reading. I'm not as good at that. I did listen to a whole audiobook on my super long driving to Florida and back from Florida. I did finish
Yeah.
the whole audiobook, so yay for me.
Nice. What book was it?
It was a book about Agatha Christie and why she faked her own disappearance, or she didn't, she
Hmm.
faked her own death in real life. And that was fascinating.
Oh.
I love mysteries, I
Yeah.
love mysteries. So I was like,
Yes.
that's really interesting. It definitely held my interest. So,
Good. That's cool.
yeah. Anything else?
Not that I can think of, honestly.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Mary, for talking with us today.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Yeah, of course. Thank you for the gift of your time and just sharing your experiences and listening to me talk. And you're a good listener, so good job on that. So thank you so much again, and definitely let us know when you will be launching your business, because I'm gonna be posting about that a bunch. So everybody get ready for Mary's new business with woodworking and charcuterie boards and cutting boards. Like, she does amazing stuff. So thank you so much.
Yeah.